Hey everybody, welcome back to One Seed, One World. So I wanted to give you some updates on what's been going on with my indoor gardening this winter and just show you kind of the things that have been going well and other things that maybe not going so well. I'm going to start off with the good part first. Look at these tomato plants. I planted these from seed on December 11th, and actually they're a little wilty right now. I'm going to add some water to these, and I actually probably need to transplant them into a bigger container because I just have them in these. But you can see they're really doing pretty well. And you know, in the wintertime you kind of get those wintertime blues. You want to be outside gardening and doing stuff, and it's cold and yuck outside. I mean, here it's what's the third week of January, and we are, I don't know, like still 3 months away really from doing a whole lot outside. Do start some things in March, but you know, you just kind of makes you, I don't know, if you're into gardening, it makes you feel down when you can't be out in the warm air and kind of moth flying around here. Oh, but one thing that can help with that is doing a little bit of gardening inside and just kind of getting your hands in the dirt, getting some green and messing with plants and seeing, you know, doing some experiments, seeing what you can do, and it kind of takes some of those wintertime blues away. So I would recommend, if you are feeling down and missing the garden, see if you can carve out a little spot for yourself somewhere inside your house, your apartment, your garage, wherever you know, can maintain some warm enough temperatures. Start messing with some dirt and growing some things and see what you can get. These are both Dr. Wyche Yellow Tomatoes, and they have even started, it looks like, I might have a couple of blossoms that are getting ready to start on here. It's kind of hard to tell because they're really small, but I think I might have a little bit right here. You can see that, maybe. Still a little early yet, but those might, I can't tell if those are, I don't know, that one looks like it could turn into a blossom, but we'll see. I need to get these watered, and I'm going to transplant these into some 5-gallon buckets and then keep them. These are ones that I fully plan on just growing in the basement if I can, and see if I can harvest stuff in the basement. And if all goes well, then maybe I'll be harvesting some tomatoes in the next couple of months, you know, maybe March, April, whereas normally I'd be waiting until like July to get my first homegrown tomato. So we'll see if these can continue to do well inside, but these have done the best of any plants that I've grown. I was having a really hard time with growing or getting my peppers started, which this is a first for me. I've sprouted multiple peppers inside. They always do seem to do better upstairs where it's warmer than down here in the basement. And I planted some directly into the soil, into just a little cup, and they didn't sprout at all. So I took 4 more poblano seeds and I put them in a little container with a wet paper towel and put them up in a cabinet up near the stove. And even then, they still took a couple of weeks before they finally sprouted. But all 4 now, you can, here, actually, let me take the lid off because I need to get these into some dirt. But, hey, got some little sprouts going on in there. So I'm going to get these in the dirt because they're at the point now where they're going to need some nutrients. That, you know, once they sprout, seeds don't need nutrients to sprout. They have all the nutrients they need contained in their little seed. But once they sprout and start putting off those first roots and those first like little leaves and stuff that start sprouting out through there, that's when you're going to need to get them into some soil so they can start getting all the other nutrients, because what's left in that little seed shell is not going to be enough to maintain them for very long. So I'm going to get these into some pots and see if we can't get those growing as well. Now, other things that did a mix of, they're growing but not, here, let me just show you. So I talked about my first wintertime growing, that my first video that I did, I don't know, a couple weeks ago or so, is that I was trying to grow true potato seed. These were seeds that I harvested from my potato berries this past year. Well, they definitely sprouted very well. I've got, they really need to be thinned out. And these are just in those little tiny seed trays, like the little 2-inch ones or whatever. So I have a whole bunch in here. They got a little leggy because there wasn't a whole lot of light when I first started them, but then I got them up closer to the light. But now they've just they're gone crazy. And I need to, if I want to keep this going, I'm going to have to take 1 or 2 of them and transplant them like into a grow bag and see if I can continue to keep them going. I do not have enough room to plant all these inside. This was more of a test, and they did way better than I thought, other than the legginess. But I wasn't expecting this kind of sprout this fast. So I'll try to move a couple into a bag and see where we can go from there. But I still have a whole bunch more left on that I saved, that I will start a new batch of these when it gets closer to time to really start them, so that I can transplant them outside, which will probably be like in the next month. Probably by the 3rd week of February, if not the middle of February, I will start a second batch that can then be moved out in the very early spring, because you can move them outside earlier than some other plants. So as long as I can keep them protected from frost, or at least get them into a bigger container until I can get them in the ground. So these have gone crazy, but it gives me something else to work with and mess around with and see what I can get out of them, and maybe I can grow some potatoes inside. Well, that's kind of what my whole plan was, and to see what these potatoes turn out like, because they are a mix. You know, they're not a true clone like when you plant a actual tuber, like I mentioned before. These seeds are going to have characteristics of both parents, and so I don't know what kind of potato I'm going to get out of them, because I had red, yellow, and white potatoes all growing, so I don't know what characteristics are going to end up in these, if I get anything at all. So we'll see. Okay, so next thing are turnips. These got super leggy, and I also have a batch like this that are just radishes too, and they look pretty much the same. In fact, the radishes are even more leggy. The turnips are starting to fill out a little bit more now, and so at least the greens are. I don't think we're getting any bulbs in there yet, though. I don't want to mess with them too much. I'm not seeing any bulbs yet to actually form a turnip. Right now it's just all greens, and that might be a lighting issue. I don't know. I've never tried growing turnips or radishes just inside in pots before. And I think the biggest problem that I was having, because the temperature down here is perfect for them, but the light, I can only get, really I should probably have about 3,200 lumens per square foot, and I'm probably only getting about, I don't know, with these lights, maybe 1,800 lumens, so maybe a little bit more, a little bit higher than half of the lumens that I need. And I think that's what's caused them to struggle. And I might try to rearrange some of my lights a little bit more to see if I can help that. So they're not doing as great as I wanted, but the greens are looking really good. So I guess I could always clip these and eat some turnip greens and some radish greens, which are really tasty on salads, if no bulbs start to form within time. So we'll see how that goes. And the last couple of things I have going is I do have a couple of little cilantro plants going on here, and I've got another one of these this size that's growing over there, and also Mitzi has like 3 or 4 of these growing upstairs as well, and she started hers before mine, so hers are actually much bigger and fuller than mine. And then I've got this one little lime basil plant. This was the only one that came up, and it's slowly working its way up there. Let's see if we can get that in. There we go, in focus. But I've had these lime basil seeds for a couple of years, And the first year that I planted them, I started them all out in the greenhouse, and I don't think I had a single one that made it. Like, none of them really germinated. I don't know if it was too cold out there at night to really get them going or what, but whereas all like my Emily basil, my Thai basil, all those kind of things did really well, but the lime basil didn't ever really do anything. But I still had some seeds left over, and so I was like, well, let me try them for inside. But I got this one little one to pop up, so we'll see if it keeps growing, and we'll see how it does. But I was kind of happy with those. So, you know, I've got some things that are going very well, and other things that are getting a little crazy, and other things that are kind of struggling but are showing promise. And then we'll see what happens with growing indoors. But there's so many different types of plants that you can grow indoors, and not just like your standard indoor plants, but you know, different herbs and even regular garden plants. You know, they might need more coaxing and more light adjustment. You might need to purchase some different grow lights and line them up different ways. And as I do these different things, once I get it all rearranged and reset up, maybe on my next wintertime vlog, I'll show you kind of how I changed up how the lighting sets to maybe get them more lighting, especially as these tomato plants grow, because these are indeterminate variety and they will just keep growing. I'm gonna definitely, you know, work on a pruning method for them for indoors, and they're going to be limited in space, but I'm hoping that I can kind of work it around inside my mini greenhouses and reset up the lights so that the lights kind of maybe come up on the sides instead of over top, or maybe have one at the very top and then lights coming up the sides, so that way they kind of have light all around them, and maybe that will help them continue to grow and set some fruit. So we'll see. But that's where I'm at so far. This is what's been kind of keeping me busy here and there, you know, giving me a little bit of gardening things to do during the winter, because probably in about a week or two, I'm going to be starting my onions and maybe some leeks, those kind of things, because those go out early and those take a little bit longer to get going. But I had good success last year with the small amount of red and yellow onions that I planted. The red did the best. They really filled out nice and did well last year. So I'm hoping to do the same again this year, because I really like red onions and I ate pretty much all of them that I brought in. But you know, just starting to get near the point where I can start things inside. But you know, like my regular crops of tomatoes, peppers, that kind of thing, I won't be starting probably until mid-March, or maybe even beginning of April, because my last frost date here is around Mother's Day, so we're looking at like, what, around the second weekend of May. And a lot of that stuff, you know, you start 6 weeks before, sometimes 8 weeks before your last frost date. And you can kind of mess around with that a little bit, start them a little bit earlier, because sometimes, you know, the spring starts a little bit earlier. Other times, you know, you get snow late or frost late. And that's what we ran into last year. We had a lot of late frost and sleet and stuff, whereas the year before, you know, we had tomatoes in the ground at the end of April. So every year is a little bit different. And you just kind of got to work with that, either by starting stuff indoors or you know, moving stuff to the greenhouse and keeping it warm at night and all that kind of thing. So my main point is, I guess, is that you can still get some of that garden fix in during the winter time. It's going to be on a really small scale, but just messing with the plants, smelling the dirt, getting that smell of tomato plants going on, you know, in the middle of January, it does something good for your soul. So, and if you're a new gardener and just trying these things out, you know, you might not want to go straight into trying to grow an indeterminate tomato in the middle of winter in your house. But, you know, you could try maybe some cilantro or a basil plant or something that's small, doesn't take up a lot of room, something that you can maybe really concentrate on, getting it to fill out and giving you some little extra stuff to nibble on that's fresh, that you've grown. And then if you've got more room, then try more plants and do other things. But it will fill that need that you have to mess with growing things when it's cold and snow and just crap outside. It helps. So look into it. All right, so that's about it for today. I just kind of wanted to give you an update on where my indoor winter gardening was going and what my plants were doing so far. Not really a how-to on any of these kind of things, but I will follow up on the potatoes and the peppers and the tomatoes and all this stuff and show you where kind of things are going. And then we're gonna get into the planting and planning for the garden for 2023 and what we're gonna be doing this year, what kind of new stuff we're gonna be trying, and following along with all that kind of stuff. So I hope that you will subscribe if you haven't already, and come back and check out all of our other videos and hang out with me for a while we do this garden stuff and play in the dirt. Whatever's going on in your neck of the woods, I hope that you are having a fantastic winter and that maybe you're trying to grow some stuff even in these cold and desolate times. But we will see you again soon, and I hope that you're having a great day. Namaste.